Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last QHHT Hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript of the session, and when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking to my practitioner who's asking me questions I've prepared for the session, and when I refer to me, I'm speaking to myself under hypnosis, which means the answers are coming from the 25th. Before I start reading, I'd like to thank you as always for subscribing, liking, and commenting on this video. Thank you so much. All right, I'm gonna start reading here. Lorrayne. Moving on to dreams. So this is another dream that I want to share with you because, as you know, I get a lot of information in dream state. And also the beauty of dream state is that you either have the perspective of the higher self, so we see things from source, really, or you have an unfiltered state of emotions, so to speak, where you basically see everything as it is. Whereas when we are fully in 3D, then we tend to filter our emotions out so we don't get a real picture for how we feel about things. All right, so here we go. So this is a dream from December 30, 2022. Clea says, I was at a coffee shop and I saw someone who looked like Mauro, who's an old friend of mine, skinny, dark-haired. He was an acquaintance and was trying to convince me to invest in his fund, but I declined. I don't think I had the money, but I was also not interested. Then I saw another man, a bit chubby with glasses, who I thought worked with him. It's like they were both trying to raise capital for this investment fund. But then it came out that this was a Ponzi scheme and the chubby man tried to distance himself. I asked him if he'd also been scammed, and he showed me a piece of paper with two names on it, signifying that he had brought two friends who had lost money. I also saw a chart showing the promised returns, and they were doubling every month, which was a sure sign of a Ponzi scheme. I realized that these guys, like the chubby guy and another woman who I'd seen hang around, knew this was not legit and had each convinced a few friends to invest so they themselves could make money and make it look like they too were victims since these were their friends. They knew their own investment was protected because they were in on the scam, and you could choose which money to protect or lose. People now knew about this, but they weren't really being punished. I saw myself going out to the parking lot with them to wait for a ride, and I was chatting with them like it was all okay. That's when the chubby man showed me his list of scam friends. But I'd forgotten something inside the coffee shop, so I went back in. I saw several men talking about business at different tables. They had briefcases. I think I talked with someone about this in general terms, but it was all very nonchalant, even on my part. Like it happens, it's what it is. We don't have proof. Someone else will take care of it. I also didn't feel up in arms about it. It's like you're used to it. Nothing out of the ordinary has happened. When I went back out, those guys were gone, which I did not expect because they knew they had done something wrong and felt uncomfortable. They left my bags on the ground without a care. I even worried they had taken one of them, but they hadn't. And this was the end of the dream. Me. So these dreams have a lot of things in common. You probably noticed, but the main thing. So we've seen how the behavior has happened here on this planet, how we have done things that were not kosher, so to speak. I mean, very nonchalant about it. So even Clea was very judgmental about what is right and what is wrong, as many of us are. Really, all of us who have been on this planet, and it's part of the game. So again, there's no judgment in regards to that. But Clea is very judgmental, so she's very much black and white when it comes to certain things. But even Clea in these dreams, and there's another dream coming up where she was actually faced with abuse of a very physical manner done on some children by the police, and she was part of the police. And she thought, well, she didn't like it. She thought this is how things are done. And it's the same story we just talked about with a dream about Walker, Texas Ranger, with his son, the actor with his son, where he wasn't trying to inflict damage because he enjoys it. But this is how things are done. This is how you obtain this result. This is how you create the reality. And so in this case, it's the same exact thing. So Clea is finding this objectionable, but she's not up in arms about it. She finds it strange. Like, why does it have to be like this? This is not right. But she's not there. She's not calling the police. We had a similar situation, we talked about this, when she saw the dream where all these women were being killed in a church setting, and she was outside looking in. She was outside the glass looking in. So she didn't want anything to do with that. But meanwhile, she's not busting up the place, freeing these women, or calling the police, or calling help, or whatever it is, right? So in this dream, we have a similar theme going on. It's the same tone, which is there are things that are wrong going on, things that are bad, things that are not of the light. So low vibrational things going on. And Clea is shaking her head saying, no, this is not good. It's not cool. I don't want this. I don't like this. But at the same time, she's acting normal with these people. She's going along. She's not doing these things, but she's also not shooting up the place, making it stop. She's not doing anything about it. She's like, well, this is how it goes. And this is how it has gone here. This is exactly how it's been here. We've all together supported these things. We're already said, if you're not busting up the place, you're supporting it. And she is supporting it. She's hanging out. She's saying hi. She's hanging out with these people. She's at the coffee shop where they all are. Because, of course, we're all next to each other. And so this was just another way to show it to her because, again, she has felt very frustrated. Like you see the contrast. She's seeing dreams where she wanted to fix something, but she couldn't talk or she couldn't move, so she couldn't fix it. And all of a sudden, things are happening because she's helpless and unable to affect change. But here, she's part of a situation. She's like, well, it's not great, but it is what it is. So all these things have gone on, all these emotions we have experienced, and she's living through these dreams. And really, we didn't even want this necessarily fixed. This is to show that we supported this. We might have not liked it, but we didn't want to fix it. Clea never in any one of these dreams was like, okay, I'm going to be an avenger or a vigilante, and I'm going to put an end to this. Not once. Lorrayne, thank you. Okay, next dream from December 22nd, 2022. I dreamed that I was in my place somewhere and had girls over, and one started cooking without my permission. I wanted them to be comfortable and had offered them food, but I found it rude that she would just start cooking food as if what I had given them was not enough or not good enough, and she was making a mess. Of course, she was a guest, so I didn't want to make her feel bad and offered to do it myself, but she continued. Then I went next door to my mom's and was eating there with my parents and telling them about this. Then I rejoined the girls and we decided to go to the pool. We were in the changing room at the pool and everyone had changed into their swimsuit except for me, since it was taking me forever and I just lost my will to do it. I felt bad for them having to wait so long, so I gave up and laid down. So they went in the pool without me. More girls I didn't know came into the changing room and were wondering why I was laying there on the bench, but they left me alone and went inside too. I felt isolated and couldn't understand why I did not go in with my friends, even though I love hanging out with my friends and was very excited about the pool. In the next scene, I was in an outdoor pool with my boyfriend. Lots of people from his old company were already in the pool playing some kind of ball game as if they were training for a competition. And I was outside the pool fully dressed, telling my boyfriend I was not interested in joining when he said, I always show up for company events. And this was the end of the dream. Me. Yeah, so in light of what we had discussed in terms of the other dreams, I think that this is quite a lot clearer than just what the plot says. But to summarize, the themes are coming up in this dream. So we still have the isolation element. We want to be part of this group. We feel like we're all one in the sense of, from a 3D perspective, we're all doing the same thing. We're all the same. We're all humans going through the motions. But really, in reality, we pull ourselves out. We're isolating ourselves. We are not capable. In the case of when I was trying to change in the locker room, for example, I felt very helpless, just like in the previous dream where I couldn't get up. Even though I didn't really hurt myself, I couldn't get up. Or in the other dream where I couldn't speak. Basically, the point is that we are incapable of participating fully in society. And what do we interpret as participating fully in society? Of being 3D, of being fully in the game. We're incapable of doing that. We want to be part of it. That's the whole point of being inside the game, is that you want to play like everybody else. But because of our alignment, we are not able to do that. We're not capable of doing that. We don't want to do that, really, is what it is. And so we wish, on the one hand, we could go swimming with my girlfriends and then go swimming with my boyfriend. But the truth is that we made a different choice. My boyfriend, of course, he was always going to go with the aliens. So, of course, he's okay participating with all of this. And he says, I always participate in these things. That's what the gist of his phrase was. But for Clea, it was like, no, I'm not going in. I'm not joining. And I'm not joining. Clea is a minority. You guys are a minority. That's what it is. You are a tiny minority. We already said that. You are 3.5 million people out of 1.7 billion. You're like, there's basically 2 of you. That's it, if you want to put it that way, in perspective. The stuff comes up in dreams, of course. The fact that you see in dreams, you see what's going on. You have your 10,000, 20,000 foot view. And that's what it is. You are in the minority. Every time stuff is going on, you're not part of it. You wish you could be part of it. It would be so much easier, in your opinion, in your judgment. It would be so much easier and so much fun even, because 3D is fun. It was always supposed to be fun. Now, of course, here we've had a very twisted version of 3D But the whole point of 3D is supposed to be super fun because really it's so far away from our real nature. So many limitations. We are so fragile here, or we like to believe we're so fragile here. These bodies are so fragile. You know, anything can happen. So 3D has always been supposed to be fun, like going swimming or having fun with friends. But we can't even do that. It's not for us. And so the initial part of the dream we're talking about, there were these girls doing whatever they wanted. It's similar to the other dream Clea was asking about, which is when there was this group of people, this group of girls that were messing up the lawyer's office, basically. And this is a previous dream that was discussed in this session. So it's one of my last few videos if you haven't watched this. It was an interesting dream. Basically, Clea can't control anybody. These people just misbehave. They do whatever they want. They mess up things. They do things they shouldn't be doing. But again, she doesn't really call them out because she doesn't want them to feel bad. And so, yeah, she's saying it and she's thinking it. She's going to tell her parents. She's going to hang out with her parents who have a different type of vibration, right? To feel better. But then it's not like she's condemning these people. Just like in real life, she's never condemned people when they made mistakes. She said, you know what? I still love this person. People make mistakes. Her ex-husband used to say that she was naive and she was being used. And of course he would know. He was using her too. But she's never had a problem with that. She's never felt used. She said, I can do this. I mean, why would I hate this person for something? But because that's mostly the game that we play here, right? We do want to believe. We want to be in 3D. We do want to believe that somebody crossed us and that we're supposed to hate them forever. Because we're supporting that energy. We're pretending. This is us, really. There is no other higher self. This is us. This is me basically playing with all these puppets. And so we want to believe that. So of course, it's very objectionable when you have somebody like Clea. She doesn't care unless you're literally going up and stabbing her. She even wanted to be friends with her first business partner who actually tried to steal money from her. She always knew that there's good and bad in all of us. And you know, people do make mistakes, which is fine. A lot of us feel this way. A lot of us, because again, it's a matter of alignment. We're not here trying to say that Clea is an enlightened being, you know, compared to anybody else. And I'm sorry, guys, this makes me laugh, the idea that I would be an enlightened being. I definitely have no such illusion. This is not what this is about. Even this dream, we already said this is never about one person. It's never about Clea. It's never about her mom. It's never about her daughter. She only uses these roles, these people in these dreams because she can relate to them. And then she knows what stuff feels like. So these are really very universal dreams in that sense, very universal messages that apply to all of us. We have made certain choices and we have behaved accordingly. We're compassionate because again, we're aligning in the sense of we are all one. So of course you're going to have compassion. It really is you. So it helps us to do the work we're doing now, this integration work, to have a certain type of personality. We said from the beginning, when you commit to a body here, to an NPC, you pick the type of personality that's going to allow the higher self to achieve its purposes. So again, all this doesn't happen by chance, right? And so in this dream, what is she doing? She's forgiving, and not forgiving again because she's Jesus, you know, the way we like to think of it here, because this is not only her personality, but truly nothing bad has happened here. We already said this. As dire as this has looked here, nobody has done anything wrong here. We are truly innocent in that sense. We just don't know. These people just wanted to experience something different, messing up the kitchen or messing up the lawyer's office in the other dream. And Clea is aware of that. And of course, in dream state, we would be aware of that because in dream state, we have the perspective of the higher self. And this is why this dream has come up to show her. At the end of the day, you might not like what some of the other people are doing because you have your own judgment here, not because they're doing something wrong necessarily. But if you want to be part of this environment, of this video game, you're going to interact with them. In fact, Clea still thinks these people are her friends. It's not that she hates them, you know. Even now that she started cutting off people who have misbehaved, this is new. And why is it happening? Not because she thinks they're evil, but because she says, well, there's no point. There's nobody there anymore. There's no point in continuing a relationship that's not real. That's truly not real. This is just me with my imaginary friend. So that's what this dream was representing. And this is the reason I share these, because these are universal messages. I know we're all working on the same things. So things might show up differently for you, but the underlying emotions we're feeling, the stuff we're dealing with, this is happening to all of us in pretty much the same way. So, All right, Lorraine, thank you. Now, final message for Clea. And again, even the final messages, even for one person, they're never for one person because none of us is unique in this sense. All of us who have chosen to go to New Earth, we have aligned with certain things, and therefore we are working on the same things and doing what we need to do. All right, so here's the 25th. Final message for Clea. Clea is very excited. She can feel the excitement now. She has been wondering, okay, what next? What am I going to be working on next? The truth is, while some stuff might come up and will come up, it's not going to be anything as difficult as what she was dealing with in the beginning. Because the fact is, we are at the point, we're really kind of, if you want to use this analogy, we're kind of reaching a glass ceiling where basically it doesn't even make any sense to continue doing a certain type of work that we could be doing much more easily on your Earth. It's what we said before. When you are seeking, you must be able to find the answer. So along those same lines, you cannot, for Clea, for example, she cannot keep doing this work if she's got this glass ceiling where she cannot go beyond it. So therefore, she's going to put off, and this is not just Clea, this is for many of us, it's the case for many of us. We're putting off some of the work that we're just going to do on New Earth. But because of that, we need to expedite things. And for Clea, this gives her comfort that, well, right now she's quite sure about it, that she's not going to change her mind. She's going to leave. Now, that said, this is how we feel today. And who knows how we're going to feel after the recall. But at the same time, she feels quite sure today that she doesn't want to stay any longer. She has no reason to stay longer because the point about this was to do certain work and she doesn't just want to stop. What is she going to do after? We're not just going to stay here. And then at that point, we truly are waiting and hanging out and doing nothing because we cannot do a lot of the work that we want to do. And so this is a comfort to her. It makes her feel like, yeah, she's not going to change her mind. So this is what we want to say to Clea, that some small things will come up again. The dreams will continue, but the big bulk of the work now we're going to put off to New Earth. And now this session was on February 15th, and I am now recording this on April 5th. And my dreams have very much changed. And actually, a lot of my dreams lately have been about actual logistics of the takedown, like I'm getting ready and stuff is happening. And I will share more of those dreams in the next session so you see exactly what I'm referring to. Lorraine, thank you. Final message for me, Lorraine, me. So Lorraine, you're kind of in a lull, we understand, because you are finding yourself in the same situation that Clea is in. You've done so much work consciously and in dream state, whether you remember or not, but also in general, that you find yourself in a spot where you're like, what am I going to do now? And so you see that at 3D level, where you're like, well, it doesn't make any sense. And this is exactly what we're describing for Clea as well. At the higher self level, it's the exact same feeling, which is, well, it doesn't make any sense for me to start this other job here because I can't finish it. And so a lot of the stuff that you're dealing with is just representation of how you feel at the higher self level. We know this. We don't just react to feelings from 3D reality because we know this 3D reality is not real. What's happening to you is exactly this. So you're finding yourself in a spot where you're like, this makes no sense to start something new, which is exactly how you phrased it. What's the point? And so the same thing we just said to Clea is true for you as well, as is true for everybody. We're going to find ourselves in a spot where really what we're doing is, of course, the work is always continuing in the background, but really what we're going to get to is, okay, when is the recall happening so we can move on to the next thing? Even if it is deciding to stay here to do something else, we can actually wrap this up one way or the other. We can go to the next thing because that's where we are right now. We're like, we're waiting. There's nothing to do. Now, we're not waiting from a 3D perspective because we are always doing work in the background. We're not waiting as in something is happening on the outside. That's why the recall hasn't happened because we are still doing the work of consciously becoming Neo, realizing that we are Neo. But we're waiting in the sense of a lot of the stuff that you might want to know, you're not letting yourself become aware of right now. So you're like, well, but I am ready. But the only way that we're going to be able to face that, to confront that, is when we are on New Earth. So in that sense, you feel like you're waiting. And I know many of us feel like we're waiting. So I actually found this answer really, really interesting and right on. Lorraine, thank you. Final message for everyone else, me. So the only thing we want to say here is really for everyone, so including you and Clea, is that things are becoming clearer. And we say this with conviction in the sense that we know that you see it. Clea for sure sees it, that things have been accelerating and are becoming clearer and clearer. So many of the things we told you, now you're seeing in reality. You're seeing in 3D reality. And because of this, you're gaining at a conscious awareness level. You're gaining confidence in what's happening. And because you're getting confidence, so you see. It's like a virtual circle. You dare intend more, and you don't have to necessarily create low vibrational stuff like you were before. Because before, the purpose was for you to keep a semblance of reality in place, your personal shell, what we've been calling the personal shell. And so you created low vibrational stuff because that way you could tell yourself it was coming from the outside, because you would never do that to yourself, would you? And they were laughing because, of course, it's all us doing this to ourselves. It's pretty funny when you look at it from their perspective. But now, obviously, many of us are not under any illusion that we are within reality, that the reality is real anymore. So, of course, we don't have to lie to ourselves. We don't have to pretend anymore. And so a lot of this low vibrational stuff has kind of fallen by the wayside. So things are getting better, you know. One of the examples is with your sinuses. We don't need to hold on to all of that low vibrational stuff, all these attachments that made us feel like this world is real. This planet is the only reality. And because of that, now we can intend, and we are seeing some more positive things come into our lives. Actually, just this morning, Victoria she was referring to a couple of things that she's manifested. And it's okay. These are not life-changing things because we don't want to change our lives. But small manifestations of small intentions, positive intentions, are perfectly acceptable because 3D has never been only ugly stuff happening, right? There's also been small happy things happening once in a while. So now you're giving yourself the ability to manifest some more pleasant things if you want to. It depends on how conscious you're allowing yourself to be of the fact that this is all fake anyway. And I do want to make a comment on this because my life actually in the last couple of weeks has really picked up in a very positive manner, nothing earth-shattering, and all things that technically at 3D level, you could say, well, you've been working on these things, so they're coming across. But it's because really I have let go of a lot of the resistance. And I know this is happening across the board, clearly, as the 25th states here as well. And the session was from 2 months ago. But things are changing. And the things are changing also because in the background, I can feel the acceleration that we're getting closer to something, you know, at least to the recall, and meaning that the fact that we know that we are creating our reality. So it is this virtual circle. The more we know we create our reality, the more the reality changes around us, because at the end of the day, we do create it. So we're becoming bolder. So I love what we're going through. It doesn't mean it's all a bed of roses. You guys know not everything is always fantastic. We still want to keep the shell in place where we think bad stuff is happening. But I think we're also becoming better at recognizing that, you know, there's a lot of fear porn out there that we do this to ourselves because really there's nobody left on the side of the dark at this point. And so it's all like a show, really, is what it is. And so once we accept that, things actually come down a lot. So I hope you enjoyed this. This was the end of the session. Thank you so much for being with me and for watching and for your support. I really, truly appreciate it. And I look forward to sharing with you more in the next session. Take care and bye-bye.